and welcome to Monmouth in Focus, a program about the services and functions of Monmouth County government. I'm Cynthia Scott, your host of Monmouth in Focus, and today we are joined by Freeholder Deputy Director Patton Preveduto, liaison to the Fire Marshal, to talk about the Fallen Firefighters Memorial and Medal Day, as well as Fire Prevention Week. Thanks so much for joining us, Freeholder.
You're welcome, Cynthia. It's always a pleasure.
Always great to see you here on Monmouth in Focus. And before we get into some very important events, let's talk about the new Monmouth County Fire Marshal. Some exciting news.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. The Board of Chosen Freeholders back in August appointed Fred Migliaccio as our new Fire Marshal. Fred has been in the fire business for 45 years in both West Long Branch and Long Branch, and he's also been in the Fire Marshal's office for the past 25 years.
Okay, so he's got quite a bit of experience there.
He does.
And speaking of the Fire Marshal's office, every year they host a very meaningful event, shall I say. And what is that?
Yeah, they absolutely do. It's the Fallen Firefighters Memorial Day celebration. It pays tribute to all of the firefighters who gave their lives in Monmouth County since 1881. The families are invited, and each member name is announced, and a red carnation is placed on the platform by a family member. And we also award those agencies who have gone above and beyond this past year with community service.
Right, probably a very nice but somber event, I would imagine.
Yeah, it really is. It was very, very well attended. Fire members from all over Monmouth County were there, as well as a significant number of family members.
And where is it held? It's held at the Fire
That's
Academy,
held at the
correct?
Fire Academy, yes, in Howell.
And there's the sculpture there?
Absolutely, the sculpture is there, yeah. That sculpture was created in 2017. And if you haven't seen the sculpture, you need to really take a look at it. Franco Minervini was the one who designed the sculpture. When you look at the sculpture, it's a firefighter embracing a flag, okay? And the flag is embracing you back. And the eyes of the firefighter are looking over your shoulder to the people standing behind you, the people that they serve. So it's really, it's a beautiful job by Franco Minervini, and
wow.
It's really poignant too.
Absolutely, yeah. They are really such heroes with lots of courage. Firefighters putting their lives on every day, put their lives on the line of duty every day. And really just sacrificing so much for others. Yeah. And there's also another important event called Medal Day.
Medal Day, well, that was part of it. Yes. And we award medals to community members who have served the community this past year, who have gone above and beyond. Yeah. And there were certain fire companies throughout the county and the Sheriff's Office and 911 Center that received some citations.
Now, Fire Prevention Week is a very important week, correct?
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
It started in 1920 with Calvin Coolidge. Back over, I'm trying to think, I guess it was 1861, there was a massive fire in Chicago. And 250 people died. And in 1925, President Calvin Coolidge proclaimed it Fire Prevention Week. And every year since then, we have been made aware, be it students and or adults, or children and or adults, about fire prevention and what needs to be done.
And it's a week in October every year, and it's the longest running public health observance in our country.
That it is.
Yeah.
That it is, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I know that in honor of Fire Prevention Week, you go out and about and visit certain areas. What did you do this year?
Well, actually, just a couple of hours this morning. I was in a Grambling school in Howell Township with a fire person from Long Branch, and we discussed fire prevention with kindergarten students. So it was probably about 125 kindergarten students and their teachers, and we talk about what they need to do if they are on fire. Stop, drop, and roll. And then we also talked about plan, practice, and escape. And it was important that the fire person that was reaching out to the kids on our behalf, talk to them about what to do in case there's a house fire, how you should just run out of the house, and this should be a planned area where the students or children need to go so the parents know that they are there. Don't go back into the house for any reason. Forget your toys or stuffed animals. Just get out of the house as quickly as possible. And so it was. The kids were very receptive.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing about kindergartners, they're like sponges and they get excited.
Yeah.
We get the little
and
badges.
there's a lot of noise.
Yeah, and it was. They got some badges in coloring book
fun.
about fire
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But you know what? We talked about the smoke alarms.
Yeah.
And so our fire person demonstrated a smoke alarm, and if it goes off, you hear this sound. It's time to go out because they're smoke eaters.
Mm-hmm.
And they are to go home this weekend and talk to their parents about changing the batteries in the smoke alarms.
Good.
And making sure the parents have a gathering place in case there's a fire outside of the home.
Of course, absolutely. It's so important to teach these kids at a young age about fire and about calling 911 and police and safety in general. Because like you said, they are like sponges. They're going to soak it up now.
That's right.
That's so important.
Yeah.
And did they receive it well? I would imagine.
Oh, they
yes.
were excited. It was great. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
So we're coming upon the holiday season and such a great time of year, but you really have to be careful because of fires, Christmas trees, wreaths, extra cooking. Tell us some safety tips that you have to share with the public.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, we also some knowledge we impart upon the students where stay out of the kitchen. Don't touch anything hot on the stove or grab a pot that might be on the stove. But you know what? During the holiday season, most of the fires are caused in the kitchen. People are neglecting when they cook, and things tend to get on fire. So you have to be conscious of what you're cooking, what's on the stove, what's in the oven. Keep your oven mitts away or from a flame or some wooden utensils
Sure.
or towels from the stove. And as I mentioned once before, you also have to be conscious of it is the holiday season coming up, so you have to make sure if you have a live Christmas tree that it's watered and it's hydrated, and that when you go to bed at night or you're leaving the house for a long time, please make sure that the lights are shut off. Same thing with the lights outside of the home. You have to make sure that there are no frayed wires. So there's a litany of things that we will ask our residents to look for in the next month or two.
Of course, yep, absolutely. And as long as if they practice those important safety tips, we should all have a wonderful holiday season.
We should.
And safe.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for joining us today, Freeholder. Always a pleasure to have you here.
You're very
and
welcome.
sharing some important safety tips with the Monmouth County Fire Academy and all the initiatives and efforts that they make throughout the year to ensure safety.
Thank you, Cynthia. It's always a pleasure to be here.
And that is all the time we have for this segment of Monmouth in Focus. Of course, you can visit www.visitmonmouth.com for more information. I'm Cynthia Scott. Have a great day, everyone.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bill Burns, Associate Vice President of Educational Access and Innovation at Brookdale Community College. If you're unsure about your major, then Brookdale's the right choice for you. We have an option for undecided students that will enroll you in the liberal arts degree. There, you can take a course called CCSC 105, the College Success Seminar. This class is specifically designed for students like you. And by the end of the course, you'll have an academic and career plan that will get you into the right major. Visit the website for more information, and I hope to see you around campus.
Hello and welcome to Monmouth in Focus, a program about the services and functions of Monmouth County government. I'm Cynthia Scott, your host for Monmouth in Focus. And today we are joined by Freeholder Lillian G. Burry and Marion Zielinski of the Lieutenant Dennis W. Zielinski II Memorial Foundation. Freeholder, thank you so much for joining us as well. And Mrs. Zielinski, thank you so much for joining us today here on Monmouth in Focus. Let's start off with you, Freeholder, and about the donation drive that you recently held. Second annual donation drive?
It's becoming an annual one. This is the second year.
Okay.
And we were very successful the year before. And I must say, it's because Marion Zielinski, who is with us today, is so inspirational in her mission. Her mission being to make the troops that are serving abroad and their families more comfortable and appreciated, if you will. And that's the whole purpose of the drive, is to let these people know that we really appreciate their sacrifices, so that they're ensuring our liberty, our freedom.
Right.
And we shouldn't forget that.
Of course, no, never forget that. And we'll get into the details of the drive in just a bit. But Mrs. Zelinsky, let's talk a little bit about the memorial, how it came about, and share some wonderful things about your son, Dennis.
Dennis was a West Point grad, and as a West Point grad, he was a second lieutenant. After he graduated, he went to Ranger School, and he was stationed at the 101st Airborne Division. And he is a Rakkasan, and that's very important to people that serve in the 101st. He was deployed almost immediately after he completed Ranger School. And unfortunately, on November 19th, 2005, he was killed in action.
So obviously that pain never goes away, but in a way to deal with it and to also help other parents who've lost children, you decided to create this memorial fund. And like the Freeholder said, to help the troops.
Yes.
Because they sacrifice so much for us, the troops, the parents, the family members. And so how did it start?
It was actually started by family and friends. I was still hurting. I wasn't sure whether it was a good idea or not. And we started out with the Run Walk, which is coming up on November 10th at the PNC Arts Center. And it was hard in the beginning because I was not wanting to live anymore. That's not who my son was. And he would be angry at me if he heard my saying that constantly. The best way to assist our troops is to honor those that gave so much, the ones that were killed. That honors their brothers and sisters at arms. So we send boxes to the troops. I spoke to Lillian about joining forces because she's a powerful woman in Monmouth County. And when she talks, people listen. So I spoke to her about it, and she said, I want to do that. So she began this collection, and it netted over 100 boxes being sent out to our troops serving overseas in Afghanistan, Africa, Kuwait. So it was so successful, it just amazed me. And then she even got the students from MAST involved, and the Colts Neck. They were both junior ROTC programs. She got them involved. Many of those students are thinking about military. And I thought it was important for them to go and learn, about the boxes that get mailed to the troops. The government does not supply everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and these drives are huge with overwhelming support.
Absolutely. We started in September 16th, and concluded it October 16th. And on the 17th, we packed it. And when I say packed, I'm not kidding. And Marion did make reference to the students at MAST as well as the ROTC group at Colts Neck, and they were remarkable. And just their enthusiasm, they got right into it. And would you ever forget the lines of merchandise and things, and they were there packing away. So it really meant a lot that they were so much a part of it. And we have done it this year, and we had 15 sites that we put the boxes at. And people did respond. In addition to that, we also requested monetary donations if people cared to do it. And a number of them did come in. The most outstanding one was from the Colts Neck Business Association. They presented me with a $500 check. This money goes to postage because it did cost
Yeah.
us $1,800 in postage money just to ship these
Sure.
boxes. And then came from lesser donations from, I would say, ordinary people. And sent to me, of course, made out to the Dennis Zelensky Fund. And I'm inspired by
Yeah.
it. So,
And they also write handwritten notes as well
yes.
to the
Yes.
troops, which really is priceless in a sense.
What's incredible about the notes is the fact that many of these warriors have no family backing.
Yeah.
And they hang the notes in either their shoes or their, wherever they are housed. It depends on what country they're in. And they hang them up because they're written by children that are thanking them so that they know that their sacrifice means something.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And our state police also assisted,
Yes.
didn't they, Marion? Yeah.
Yes.
So,
And that's incredible because when we started the Memorial Fund, it was 14 years ago. We were 14 years younger, and the colonel of the New Jersey State Police has assigned a unit to assist us when we need help moving boxes, because my husband and I physically cannot do it anymore.
Absolutely.
So,
It's grown so much. Yeah.
now, the funny thing was when Lillian was packing her box, she wanted it for a girl. And she made
made it
sure
pink.
that everything in there was going to
yeah, it was
go to a female soldier.
female oriented.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that was enjoying just watching her enthusiasm for the spectacular job that she did in arranging all of this. It was 1 minute you were crying and the next minute you were laughing. And when I was watching her guard her box, I had to really smile. And, it touched me so deep.
Yeah.
And to know that all of this is going on for my son.
Absolutely. He's certainly left some sort of a legacy, huh?
Yes,
I mean,
he
really,
has.
what a incredible way to salute your son, as well as all of our men and women in the military who have died fighting for our freedom.
Yes, freedom is not free.
And those who are right now
Yes.
overseas fighting
Yes.
for our freedom. God bless them all. And you both as well for such a wonderful effort with like I said, overwhelming support. So let's keep it going.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Let's
Yes.
do that.
Number 3 coming up next year.
Yes, exactly. And we'll be here next year talking about number 3 too.
I hope
Thank you
so.
both so much.
Thank you.
And for more
Thank you.
information, the website is
www.runwithdennis.org.
.org. Okay. All right. Thank you both so much for joining us.
And thank you for having
Thank you,
us.
Cynthia.
And that is all the
Thank
time
you.
we have for this segment of Monmouth in Focus. I'm Cynthia Scott.
Brookdale Community College. Here, you'll find accessibility to over 60 degree and certification classes, both on campus and online. Here, you'll find a rich community of faculty and student life. Here, you'll find affordability through financial aid, scholarships, and grants. Here, you'll find the access, community, and affordability to reach your educational goals. Here, we'll get you there. Join us November 17th from 1 to 4 p.m. RSVP today at brookdalecc.edu/open house.
Whether you're here for a 2-year degree, a career certificate, or planning to transfer to a 4-year school, Brookdale has the power to support you.
Hello and welcome to Monmouth in Focus, a program about the services and functions of Monmouth County government. I'm your host, Cynthia Scott, and joining me today is Monmouth County Clerk Christine Hanlon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Christine, your office issues passports. Very busy office when it comes to passports. Your office in Freehold as well as Neptune.
Yes.
And now, obviously, we know that we need to have passports when we travel internationally, but you also do need them to travel domestically as well.
Someday soon.
Someday
Yes,
soon.
yes,
If you
yeah.
don't have one, then you need the federal real identification card
Yes.
as well?
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
talk a little bit about that. That's issued by the federal government, obviously, but I would imagine the passport and the card go hand in hand, so let's kind of talk a little bit about that.
Well, the Federal Real ID Act was a law passed by Congress right after the September 11th terror attacks to sort of tighten up identification requirements throughout the country because states had different requirements for driver's license and driver's licenses
Sure.
and identification cards.
Right.
So when the law was passed, there were certain criteria that are now required for each state's driver's license and non-driver identification cards.
Right.
And the deadline for all states to be in compliance with this Real ID Act is basically October 1st, 2020.
2020, okay.
So many states have come, because it's been many years now that this law has been in effect, and states have had many years to come into compliance
Sure.
with the law. So over the years, different states at different times corrected their driver's license requirements and created what's called a Real ID compliant license. New Jersey is now coming into compliance with this Federal Real ID Act, and they have formulated their criteria for issuance of these Real ID compliant licenses in New Jersey.
Okay.
The important thing, though, is that if you have a passport already, that is a Real ID compliant piece of identification.
Right.
So prior to the implementation or the final implementation of the Real ID Act, you did not need a Real ID compliant identification card to fly domestically.
Right.
You needed a passport to travel overseas, or a passport card to travel to another country by land, but you didn't need that for domestic travel. But now, because of this law, you will need to have either a passport or a Real ID compliant identification card, even to fly domestically.
Okay, so
and also to enter certain federal buildings.
Interesting. So, correct me if I'm wrong, when you go for a new license, can that license become your federal ID card as well if they change it and make it compliant, or is it two separate cards, your driver's license and the federal ID card?
Well, your driver's license will become the federal, the compliant ID card, but you have to go through the procedure to get that special
Gotcha.
driver's license.
Gotcha.
Right. So as I said, if you have a passport, you don't necessarily have to do this, because if you want to travel domestically after October 1st, 2020, or starting October 1st, 2020, you could show, the driver's license that you have and
the
your
passport.
passport,
Yeah.
and then you'd be fine.
Okay.
Okay. But if you don't have a passport, in order to travel domestically by air or to enter certain federal buildings, you will have to have gotten this Real ID compliant ID card. And New Jersey is, still issuing the general, regular, non-compliant ID cards, or you can opt to get the Real ID compliant ID card. And the requirements are more stringent to get the Real ID compliant card.
Points-wise.
So points-wise. So some people may opt not to get it because you don't have to get it.
Right.
So right now, people are either opting to just, stick with their passport, or to sort of upgrade their driver's license that they currently have in New Jersey to get a Real ID compliant driver's license. So New Jersey is starting to implement this
Yeah.
program. You have to make an appointment with the Motor Vehicle Commission to go in and get this new Real ID compliant driver's license. There are 3 additional identification requirements. Everybody knows in New Jersey about the 6 points that you need to get a driver's license. To get a Real ID compliant license, which will have like a little star on it so that people know that it is a Real ID compliant card, you have to have an additional 3 pieces of identification. So it's an additional 2 pieces of proof of residence and 1 proof of your social security number. And with all that, then you can get a Real ID compliant driver's license.
Okay, gotcha. Understood. Actually, you make it very understandable. It could be a little confusing, but it makes sense.
Yes,
it
yes,
makes sense. So
yep.
hopefully it makes sense to our viewers as well. Yeah, lots of changes. You did mention federal buildings. So for somebody that visits federal buildings a lot, federal attorneys, people, judges, obviously, clerks, it would probably behoove them to get this ID
to get
card.
right, because there are certain federal buildings that you should go onto the Real ID NJ website to get some more information. But if you are a person who's constantly in federal buildings, it is a good idea to get the Real ID compliant license.
Right.
But I have to say, most people who will be affected by this are people who fly domestically.
Yeah.
I mean, think about all of the air travelers in New Jersey who go to get on
Florida.
a plane
Yeah.
to go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, business
Yep.
travelers. You're going to need to either upgrade to the Real ID compliant
Right.
ID, or
Carry your passport all the time.
carry your passport
Yeah.
to get on domestic airfare. So I know the Motor Vehicle Commission is trying to get the word out to people, because they're, you know, it's about a year from, people have about a year in New Jersey to take care of this, because there will be no more extensions. There have been many, many extensions for states to comply with the Federal Real ID Act, but this is the last extension, and as of October 1st, 2020, there will be no more extensions, and everybody has to be in compliance with this law.
Right. So very important to get the word out, and thank you so much for doing that today here on Monmouth in Focus. Christine, always good to see you as well.
You too, Cynthia.
And that is all the time we have for this segment of Monmouth in Focus. And of course, you can always visit www.visitmonmouth.com for more information. I'm Cynthia Scott. Have a great day, everyone.